everyone, welcome back to the Art2Life podcast. I'm in Paros, Greece right now, and I've been thinking a lot about the very beginnings of the podcast and the idea of finding your way as you go. So in today's episode, I'm going to kind of update this. This was a few years ago, and this concept, this idea, I have learned so much more about the power of this idea. And so today's going to be kind of a update on this, and I think will be really helpful. But before I dive in, I just want to do a couple kind of things I've been noticing here, which is so interesting in Greece. And I apologize for all the ambient noise that might be in the background. I'm in a small port town here. Lots of activity this morning, and I've been balancing charging technology as well as trying to fix recording devices. So I'm just going to have to use my phone today. So it might be a little noisy, but hopefully it'll be able to come through okay. Couple observations. There are a lot of cats in Greece, just got to say. Dogs not so popular, which is really interesting. Cats are the perfect fit, though, for the Greek people. They have such a relaxed, calm nature. And there's this thing also that I noticed that the people here, it's not a privacy thing. They're just very self-contained, but it's very warm. You know, it's like cats have this, right? They're warm, but they know what they're doing. They've got themselves together. It's not like a dog that comes and jumps all over you. So it just seems to fit. And I kind of understand now why dogs just aren't as popular here. It's just so interesting. Time seems to go incredibly quickly. I don't know what is going on. I've never had days go by so quickly. I would think that everyone's moving slower. There's definitely meals go slower, and maybe that's what it is. You know, breakfast turns into 2 hours, lunch turns into an hour and a half, dinner turns into 3 hours. So there's not a lot of time in between, which actually is kind of lovely. Also noticing, before I left, I met someone in my gym, and the owner of the gym, and he was talking about this men's group, and I was sort of interested in it. And it's sort of hard to, at home to connect with men, and everyone's so busy. And so there's the idea of a men's group is kind of a thing, right? But what I notice here, there's groups of men that are just having breakfast together every day, the same place. You stay in a place for a couple of days and you just notice, oh my God, there's that group. And this is sort of the origin of a men's group. It's like we used to have time where we just get together and meet for breakfast. And that's a men's group. They've been going for thousands of years, So anyway, I just think that's kind of interesting, and wondering if really that's all I need is just, an opportunity to have breakfast with friends a couple times a week. Anyway, so let me just dive in. So by the way, we're on a catamaran, and we're sailing, which has been so cool. Getting to stay for a few days in one place and then moving on, being on a boat. It's just amazing. And anyway, I'll dive into that a little bit more. But here's where I want to go today. The very first episode, or the second episode, I think the first episode, and the kind of overview and the interest of mine in this podcast is exploring this idea of finding your way as you go. And the idea is that you can make better decisions. And if we just think of art, we can make better decisions once we get underway, right? You can run up, and running is the same thing. You can run up a side of a mountain and you don't know how to get there. But when you get halfway up, you can see more and find your way more easily because you're halfway there. Things that you couldn't imagine trying to visualize before you began become more clear. You make better decisions this way. And there's an uncertainty to this way of approaching things that we resist. We don't necessarily want to begin something if we don't know where we're going. And the teacher of this, and what I coach and what Art2Life is all about, is helping people move through this uncertainty. and there's fear, and we're just not hardwired to be okay with not knowing. Makes amazing art, by the way, right? And I'll dive into that in a minute. But this finding your way as you go idea from the very first episode, I have been working with this for a couple years now. And I think the broader idea, maybe the broader, bigger word that encompasses better is just wayfinding. And so I want to go deeper with this because it has profound implications for living and for art making, for creativity in general. So let's just dive into this. Obviously, this applies to art making. And and here's some reasons why this works. And then I'm going to include just a few pointers as to how to put this in place. I think the how is a whole other episode or a couple episodes. So I think this might be a part one of a bigger idea, because this is a life approach that I'm talking about. And it's the basis of everything I teach. And it's deep and it's big, and it takes some time to kind of get your head around it. But as far as art making, the one of the reasons this is so incredible is that when you don't know uh, in your art necessarily where you're going, surprise and wonder and certainly curiosity step in. And this is so fun. It is so addicting. I watch what happens at retreats, and it's day 5 and people have been painting, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and they would keep going for weeks. I mean, it is so addicting. It's so interesting when you let go of the fear and you just watch what happens. You're getting clues all the time. And so it holds your interest. And this is powerful in art making, because the thing I'm trying to have help people overcome is this losing momentum, is dropping this and not pursuing the art, right? It's so easy to do. There's so many things that get in our way. Um, because you're making art uh, and you're basically learning how to choose in the moment, right? You begin something. What do we do? Where do we go next? I've got something in front of me. I have no plan. Well, the plan is to start paying attention to what it is that you prefer that's in front of you. You start to build discernment. Same as if you were on a mountainside and you're trying to find your way to the top. You would look at the options, you'd see more clearly, you're above the clouds, and you choose what feels right based on the new information that's come in. So this discernment thing improves over time. We get better. We're just choosing based on internal guidance systems. And that's intuition. And because we're choosing more based on this, as opposed to a premeditated plan of our old self trying to imagine our future self and the kind of work we need to make, the work comes out more authentic. It relates more to the inside of us because that's who's directing it. It's an internal investigation. Um, and so that makes powerful art. That is actually a way to make art that is more saleable, more desired by you, and it's more desired by other people. It's more sophisticated. It's more unique. It has to be. If we can leverage our uniqueness, if we can leverage our authenticity all the time, better and better and better, there's no doubt that the art is going to shift and change in this direction. And in the art world, being different, that's what you're selling. I'm surrounded by all these little shops, and there's brands of things and companies I've seen before, and pairs of shoes, and there's 50 pairs. That's not what we're doing. We're making one of a kind thing. The very fact that there's only one in the world is how the value is created. Your art is completely yours, and nothing else exists like it in the world. And you can imagine, you can understand when the world of mass produced everything, why art has such an incredible value. And we need to step into this. This is another episode, but this is what you have to lean into constantly, nurturing this authenticity in yourself to create the value in your art and actually your life too. But this is why you can charge a lot for the work, and you can't give it away. You want to be raising these prices. But anyway, that's another episode. Um, so So how to, right? Let me just give a little how to, because I find it frustrating if someone's just talking constantly. And yes, this is sort of an overview, but here's a tip on how to get in this framework when you're making art. And it's playing. You need to just experiment and play. Relegate a portion of your practice, the beginning part. Even if you don't have time to make art, play. Just take 10 minutes and play. Make art, play. Playing has no plan, and its stakes are low because you're playing. You don't need to have an outcome, and you're going to learn. It's going to teach you what you need to know, that's what's so cool. So this is a little bit of what I was talking about in that first episode, but I want to go deeper now, right? Beyond art and explain about this strategy, this wayfinding. It's a wellness strategy. It's a quality of living strategy. As you pass this discernment, you learn this discernment of choosing what's right. This choosing continues out into your life, right? And you start choosing environments, places, situations that match you better. And this is so apparent when you're outside of your home where everything's kind of set up. I'm in different places and I'm experiencing all kinds of different environments. I'm at a cafe right now that I had to walk for 20 minutes to find the right place, the right vibe, the right thing. I don't want to just sitting in a place that's not inspiring. The music that you're probably hearing, I love this music. The guy, I'm looking at him right now, who's, his shirt says Unlimited, made with love. This is his cafe called Maroon, everything about it, the menu, everything. And so you start choosing better. You start being in places that match you. And this is such you feel better. You just feel better more often. It's not just a random thing, a good days, bad days. You start curating your experiences. And what I love about this is that this isn't something that that's luck. It's completely controlled. It's your ability to do it really well. And I love that. This isn't an external thing. This is an internal thing. Um, and, uh, and there, I speak of this a lot, the brand of you, who you are, what you love, right? Like Art2Life has a certain brand, but a lot of it is my brand and what is the right place? What's the right background? What's the right color? What's the right music? Who comes? Who's here? Who do we help? Who are the right people? All of this creates the community, right? Because you're not alone in what you love, right? And that's what's so connecting when you find this with other people. But it permeates all areas of your life. Your diet is a perfect example of this. Like this year, more than ever, I've been diving into what I need to live and have the highest energy, right? Doing all that blood work and, I know where all the problems are. I know where the good things are. What do I need more of? What I need to do less of? You start dialing it in, right? Fitness is another one, right? Like learning how to make your body feel amazing. What works for you, right? For me, that's running, or I'm working out in a gym and learning new ways of doing this. But now there's a reason. It's like your body is your instrument, so you can feel better. You can have more energy, so you can stay up later. You can do more things. I have noticed just in my own kind of fitness journey how this taking these small steps um, towards a more heightened energy, which is really the reason we do everything. And if that becomes the goal, then it starts to make sense. You can start paying attention. So the sort of how to on this, um, for diet, for health, fitness, um, all the inputs, um, is around measurement a little bit. I think for at least for me, it's been helpful to record uh, where I was and where I'm getting to, right? In terms of I can run further, or I can improve how much weight I can lift, or how I feel at a certain speed running on a treadmill, or the pace. Just to record what's working and what's not. This gives you a lot of momentum. In our art, we have measurement, because our art becomes the measurement of where we've been. We have an artifact of it. But in life, it's easy to just miss it because there's so much going on. But keeping this a sort of journal on this, on these barometers of your wellness, I think is a simple idea. The measurement of it, and to see improvement. If you can't measure it, it's hard to get momentum because you have nothing to celebrate, right? The wins are that you're further along 2 months down the road than you are in the present. And measurement's a great one for that. And I have a whole journaling process. It's another episode. But anyway, that's just sort of a tip on this. What we're talking about here is this wayfinding, broadly applying as an approach to living. The third piece of this is that it's an unbelievable connection strategy, right? So it's not just an art strategy. It's not just a wellness strategy, but it's an external connection strategy when you're out in the world. And it's never been more apparent than on this particular journey I'm on right now. I'm away. I've got a lot of art retreats coming up. I have a lot more time to be thinking and experiencing, and I'm meeting people. I'm traveling with my sweetheart, Cherie, and we're together, and we're, staying in a place for a few days and noticing and meeting people. But it's when we have the presence to kind of slow down and pay attention. And I just want to say something around this idea of, vacation and, oh, well, this is easy to do when you're not in your normal life. And this isn't about being on vacation. This is about approaching your life like a vacation. This is about wayfinding in your life. I have the same degree of curiosity at home as I do here. I am no more in wonder here than I am at home. I'm as inspired about my art here as I am at home. And I think it's important because I think sometimes we can, I get this from one of my really close friends. I sent him some photos of this trip, and he said, "Oh my God, you're such a jet setter." And it wasn't, he didn't get it. Like, he doesn't understand that's missing the point. It's not about escaping your normal life and, oh, well, I have the means to do this, or lucky you get to take 2 weeks off from your job and have this great vacation. I can't do that. That's not it. This is an approach of, making life extraordinary, by choosing and committing to the extra work of hunting down what you want. You see, it's a whole lens. And I just think that is the coolest thing. This isn't about access or resources. This is about pausing and increasing noticeability and learning discernment, first and foremost in your art. And I think for so many people, this is why they come into art. They come into it because they're needing to learn about uncertainty almost across the board. There's so many limiting beliefs, so many hurdles people have to come to become more self-expressed. But then as you do this, it just starts reverberating out. We're on this trip and I'm noticing that definitely we are meeting people, certain people actually coming up and saying, "Oh my God, you too," or you seem really, you guys seem so warm and hi, and meeting someone where I just want to be best friends with this person. Like it's the same. You start attracting the right kind of people to you that are like you, that are on a similar kind of journey. So one of the things in planning this trip was this boat portion of it, right? Was this sailing part. And most people rent a sailboat and you hire a skipper to help you do this thing. And they sleep like 4 people, 7 people, 8 people. And we planned this at the last minute, but nonetheless, there's extra space on this boat. And we were hard pressed to think of people we knew who could leave in a short notice, but also who could you be spending 7 days with in close quarters and just make sure that you got to get along. But it's been interesting meeting people, complete strangers, where I'm thinking, boy, I would just love to spend more time with this person. I don't even know them, people coming up. And so the idea here is that this sort of vitality, this energy, this happiness that comes from feeling more yourself, is felt. It's felt externally. It's cultivated internally, but it's felt externally. And I'm just noticing this like crazy, more than ever before. So on this particular journey that most people I don't know, everybody I don't know. So it's really noticeable, which had got my wheels turning around like, well, what is happening? The how-to of this is learning how to let this internal inquiry out a little bit, to express it a little bit more, looking for, feeling the music more, looking into people's eyes, being more self-expressed in all the ways, the way you're dressing, where you're choosing to sit, who you're looking at. And I really see this thing of when you look at somebody and they'll look away or they'll look at you and there's this moment of connection where you both know a thing. And I think that it's a felt sense. And it's definitely not with most people, but the occasional person comes along where they'll actually come over and introduce themselves. It's amazing. So that the sort of how-to again is just, we're becoming more expressed externally, and we're cultivating this within. So it's a build up from within that then is expressed externally, which has consequences who comes in. So the fourth little piece of this is around dreams and big ideas and hopes, aspirations you have. Other idea has to do with a strategy, this wayfinding idea as to help achieve and realize your dreams, the big possibilities for your future. Who do you need to become to go after, to achieve what it is you desire? Those dreams that feel so big, you kind of can't even imagine that it could come true. Like you're scared to write it down. You're scared to even tell people. Those kinds of dreams. These kind of dreams start to become closer, start to become more possible when you start noticing the changes in your life. This whole approach gives you more energy, makes you feel like there's more possible for you. And so I've started to realize that this is, I mean, it's certainly for Art to Life, building Art to Life and thinking that this was just a little fun thing to help people make paintings and teach some little local workshops. It's grown because of this approach. The cultivation of Art to Life has been through this approach. Um, I I wanted to. I've had a dream my whole life of like I've always loved water and I love sailing, and I've always wanted to be making art and sailing and going to new places, and how you put that together, and that's just sort of out there. I don't know if it necessarily means sailing around the world, but it's certainly, there's something about, it's the ultimate in, at least as far as I'm concerned, or one of the ultimate ways of this wayfinding. Literally, it's just, it is so cool. The dream was to experience this sailing and going to places and making art and having that loop. And this week, I'm tasting that. And the strategy here is, the how to of this is to write these ideas down, these dreams down, and visit them often. It was this very idea that that kind of like fantasy dream out there, and maybe, I'm not doing that. It's not like what I'm doing in my life, but I've taken a small step towards that, right? Like I'm here. I'm on a boat. I know actually the kind of boat I would like to do this on it now. It makes sense to me. There's so many things that you learn now halfway up the mountain, looking in, peering in. Is this really amazing? Yes. What's it like to, how do you sleep on a boat? Well, it turns out you sleep amazing on a boat. Well, what about like you're so confined, and that's kind of claustrophobic. I'm used to having how would I do in a small space and a tiny bedroom, Well, it turns out that you're surrounded by so much open space that you don't need spaciousness because you're on a boat and you're surrounded by spaciousness. It's these things that you learn by taking a small step towards it. And it's just been really, really interesting to that you can so much better. It's just like art. You can so much better picture something when you're doing it a little bit. So I love that. I love that idea, and that awareness of the thing. Again, so how do you go after the bigger dream? How do you use this? You have to keep it front and center. You have to be touching it, looking at it, writing it down, visiting it. Because I was keeping my eye on this for the past few years, there was this opportunity. There was wow, what maybe on the way to teaching the Marrakesh retreat could free up some time to experience this. It's not it. The boat we're on is actually 20 years old, and it's certainly not the one I would want, but there's so much about it that is giving me energy and letting me taste and move towards what one of the things I love. And it's just the most amazing thing. It's the most coolest thing and I realize it's this approach. It's this little steps. It's moving a little bit towards something without really having to understand it before you go. So powerful. The wayfinding is an approach that asks asks you for presence, asks you for more awareness. And at the same time, we're using this strategy. We're treating the threat response, right? We're treating the threat response, the feelings of uncertainty that are difficult for us in our external world. So much is going on, right? Like we can't control, and we better plan, right? We can't have everything work out all the time. And that gets to us. That makes us less self-expressed. But this taking all of this internally, um, and dropping in to decision making, into discernment, the internal ease of this can offset that, and it can move us forward. It gives us more energy. It makes so many things possible. It makes incredible art. Um, and we're looking to transform the relationship with the unknown. That's almost what everyone comes for. And they're trying to make art, and the stories they've told themselves about, they did a certain kind of work in their life, and they've postponed this. Well, it's the unknown. It's fear to move towards what feels right. And when I say making art, I'm saying making what you desire to create. This comes out. This discernment comes in the creation of things, whether it's a restaurant on the beach, or whether it's a relationship, or whether it's you want to do a ceramics project or a painting, a podcast. Any of that is the opportunity for this transformation around uncertainty, and to get more at ease with it, which gives you energy, which can be converted into moving you closer and into a more aligned place of congruence in your body, in your mind, in your relationships, all of it. You know, it's so interesting because I had a childhood friend. I was like a kid. I was like a teenager, and I was really into surfing. I was learning to surf, and my good friend and I, Mark Felix, we couldn't drive. We were like 14 years old. We met this guy who was older. To us, he seemed really old. He was like 20, probably in his 20s, and he was this surfer. He had this VW bus, and we became friends with him. And he would take us surfing. And he had all these rituals, right? Because surfing is one of these things that there's a lot of mystery to it, because you don't know the conditions you're going to get on any day. And you sometimes have to set off driving towards the beach or the area in the dark, in the morning, to hope that when you arrive, the conditions will be amazing, and it won't be windy, and it'll be incredible. So he had all these rituals around doing certain things as we came over the hill to come to this sort of notorious break that no one knew about. And he would say certain prayers. He'd play certain music as we pulled into the parking lot, some rituals that would help with the create the conditions for us. And he said a thing all the time, which I remember to this day. And it's so interesting because it's one of the few things that I found early on that has stayed with me, which to this very day still resonates. And he was talking about surfing, but now I realize he was talking about life. And the thing he used to say was, it's the momentum that creates the balance. And if you think about surfing, right, when you're riding a wave of unpredictability, you don't know, what creates your ability to stand up and balance is turning and twisting and adjusting on this wave that's completely out of your control. You're surfing the waves of unpredictability. And by doing that, that creates your balance. But this idea is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what creates balance in your life. Balancing all this is the miracle, is the approach, is is what creates the wonder, what creates the energy, what creates the possibility. A whole thing starts happening when you're walking around with this orientation. I haven't even started talking about the attraction. I mean, a little bit with people, but what comes in. So this approach of developing the discernment, overcoming uncertainty, moving towards it, finding your way, also brings in crazy synchronicities. All kinds of things are attracted in. In closing, I just want to say, I'm looking this morning, running around, trying to find a cafe in this town. I found the coolest place, the great music, the art on the walls, the whole place. And it was like, yes. And I walked down, I set my computer up to do this, and right in front of me is this sign on the wall, and it says, happiness comes in waves. And that's exactly, I think that might become the podcast title. That's crazy, right? This is it. When you're in flow, when you're paying attention, when you're present, it's just a game changer. Anyway, you guys, you can find me on @NicholasWilton at Instagram. And I'd love to, if you want, you can DM me any thoughts. Just as I'm just going to try this as a way to kind of connect with people around this. I've been receiving a lot of great DMs around these places I'm going. We're in Greece right now. And so thank you for that. I found some really cool places that people are reaching out saying, oh, Nick, you're going to love this place. And I've gone and it's been incredible. So thanks for that. You guys, I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. I will be following up here probably with a part 2 to this on the how, because I think this is such a deep, important approach. You guys, thanks for being here. Okay, thanks. Bye.